In today's video, I'm going to show you how the MailChimp campaign editor works so that you can design your emails in MailChimp. And this, of course, is using the most recent up-to-date editor, and we're just going to get straight into it. So the first thing we have to do is actually create our campaign, whatever that is, to get started. So we're just going to zoom ahead on that by going up to the top to create and going to email and regular. But before we start, there is also the plain text editor. It's essentially just plain text. So there's nothing really to show you there. You click through. When you get to the editor, you just have plain text without any sort of formatting or anything like that there. Or of course, you can choose a pre-existing template, which you can check my. I'm going to put a link to playlist below. I have a bunch of videos there. One of them is how to create a template in MailChimp, so you can bring that up and have the same look to all your emails. Otherwise, we're going to start with regular, and we're just going to quickly zoom past and go through this. Okay, now, so I've just popped some information in there so that we have some info in the editor to start with. I'm going to go ahead and click Design Email here to start working with the MailChimp editor. Now, you can see the first thing we get here, you can see our campaign on the right here. It's just got some blank sort of information in there with some stuff that's already existing. And we've got our templates. So before you touch on anything, you can go straight into the template editor, or template, I should say, Explorer, and choose a template. And so you can actually get something that's already kind of pre-designed or built for you pretty easily here, if you want to start that way. However, we're going to go back, and just to sort of summarize a few things, you'll see we've kind of got these blocks of content here. There's like an image block, some text, another image, a button, and other bits and pieces that are easy enough to click on and sort of duplicate or move and that sort of thing. But before we touch on that, if I click here outside of that on the canvas area here, you do have your first two options, which is the canvas and the backdrop. So when you have an email, the backdrop is a different color to the canvas, but they're both white at the moment, so they're difficult to see. I can go in and make the canvas a completely different color, like gray, which I don't necessarily recommend. I'm just sort of showing you that you can change it if you decide to black, if you want to have black with white text or something like that. But we're going to keep this white, and we're going to go back, and we're going to change the backdrop to something else, say like maybe like a charcoaly gray or something like that, to highlight that background. So there's a couple of basic options there to get started, just to, if you want to sort of put your colors into this layout and get something looking a bit more the way you want. So you've got options here with some blocks that are existing. If you want to sort of move and change the stuff around, like I said, if I click on this image here, which is actually a logo block, we'll go into how that block itself works later. But what I can do is I can click on the bin to delete that block if I want to. I can also undo and redo up top here. And I can also click on my next block here and I can duplicate it. So now I have two. So I'll bin that again. Or if I click on this block, you'll see I have options up the top here that hover up depending on what block I'm using. But the main thing we're looking at here is this little panel on the right. I click on these 6 dots here and I can move that up and down to where I want. So what we're going to do is, I'm actually going to go through, I'm going to delete these blocks, and we're going to actually explore what we have here. Now the footer, you can't really delete the footer because it is more of a legal thing. You can, I believe, delete. No, I think because this is a free plan, I can't really delete this. It's just an account I use for testing. I can actually change some of this footer. However, it's very limited. Because legally you need to have your address and certain details listed, they do kind of tie this down to keep you legally compliant with your email. But you can obviously go in if you want to and make things bold, and do some basic text changes in there if you want to. And of course on the left here, you can go and edit your contact info here if you want to change your contact info, which is sort of displaying here somewhere, be under current year, list address, that sort of thing. You can change the font to something else if you want to, like Catamaran. Although, yeah, so that actually does change the whole block. If you want to see a more drastic change, I'll choose Anton, and you can see how different that looks. So we might actually just stick with something a little simpler. You can change the text color if you want to a gray. Perhaps even make the links something like a bright red. So you can see here, The links to unsubscribe or update preferences are now in red. One thing you'll also notice that this is actually taken over up here as well. So it is actually applying to, some of these options are applying to the full email. So back into that footer. If you're probably wondering what padding is, it's simply the space on the inside of the block. If I decide to make this space 100 at the top, I have to use arrows, as you can see here, or I can link them all together and apply a single padding number across the whole board. And you can see this box getting bigger because there's space forming around on the inside of it. If I type in 100 and hit enter, you'll see we have much larger padding, so it's much more spaced out. Or I can go back to say 15, hit enter. And if you turn that tick off, you can change the space either side. So at the moment, we've got a little bit at the top and a little bit either side. If I change the side padding to 200 on the left, you can see we get more space on the left. I can do the same on the right. And we get this real thin sort of information down the bottom. So that's how padding works on everything pretty much. But it'll give you an idea on the footer block itself. So the footer block, it can't be changed. I'm just going to get rid of this. But you can change how it looks. So you do want to keep that on there for legal reasons. Although you can type in here. If you click inside and type. I wonder if you can delete. Oh, you can. There you go. So you can actually go in and type in there and change these are called merge tags. And they actually reference information within your email. So to touch on that quickly, this will work on a text editor. So we're going to start, we'll actually add a text block in there, go through that and get to merge tags in a minute. But if I preview this at the moment, you'll see it has a preview. So this is my information and it's referencing information from my account that legally needs in order to sort of display and become legally compliant as an email newsletter. So that is what merge tags do. They reference certain information. You can also preview this on a phone and see how it looks, which is pretty nifty. So we'll exit preview mode. So now we're going to start adding blocks and showing you exactly what you have here. So this is actually a spacer, which I'm going to remove. This is just a standard text block. It says here, view this email in your browser. And it's probably not a bad idea to keep that there in case someone has trouble with their email. So I'm just going to keep that there for the sake of the video. But we're going to add our first block. And the first thing we're going to do is actually, we are going to go a bit of a left to right fashion, but we're going to come back to layout after we looked at heading and paragraph, because it kind of makes more sense to put the two together, actually an image as well, and see that's kind of like a combination of these next three. So I'm going to add a heading in there. Now my heading is this outline because there's an issue with Helvetica on some browsers. I've fixed it in the past, but I've just kind of gotten sick of fixing it, so I leave it the way it is. So we could say our heading here, something such as, check out my test. And this is the heading of a bit of text. We can add in we can do this multiple times. You can add as many times as you want. You know, once I add it in, I can keep adding that in. But I've got my heading here, and once again, I can change the font. So maybe for this particular heading, I want something a little bit more visual. So there's actually not that many options here, as you would get in, say, a different sort of editor. We'll stick with this. And of course, I have all these options at the top here as well. So I've changed my font. I can change the text color for this. So I can make the text color red if I want to as well. But I'll go back to, maybe we'll choose that gray color again here. You've also got some swatches you can choose from down there. Click back. So I can set my links to red, to blue. And you'll notice whenever I change links, it's across the board on the whole email. So do actually, you might have to recognize that as well. Whoops. But I'll make my links red again. We won't change that link color again, but you can see how it changes across the whole email here and just up here. Now the block background, if you want this block specifically to have a different background, maybe I want to make that black so it stands out. Then I can go back and make my heading color white and then get this cool block effect on my email as well. So you don't have to stick to the white background or the single, whatever background you've chosen throughout the whole thing. You can go through and make different color blocks throughout, which we might do just for a bit of fun. Once again, we have our padding, which we explored before, so we can add some space around the text or on the inside of the box. And we also have dynamic content. which is merge tags and things like that. I'm not going to worry about that right now because we're only concerned with a heading. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Once I'm in here in my heading area, at the moment this is bold. It looks just like a little bit too thick, so I'm going to unbold it. Now that text looks a little bit more crisp. Depending on what font you use, whether or not you do that. But if I've got this text here, I can change the size just by up and down here. I can change the heading level. At the moment it's a heading 1. So if you were familiar with web design or blogging, you'll notice that you have different heading levels. So you can actually have a heading 1 at the top. And as you add, you can add in lower level headings or subheadings. But you've got your usual options. Bold, italics, so we can italicize, underline. We can change the alignment to center, which we might just do for this one in particular. And this one here is actually line spacing. So if I add another line here, a second line. Now this has been added as paragraph text. If you look over here again, where this little backwards P is, that's paragraph. We can have a heading 1 if we want to again. So you actually change the options per line. But if I highlight both of these and choose this, I can change the line height, so it's 1.25. If I change it to double, the line is much further apart. I'm just going to left align this so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Normal, 1.5, and just change the distance between each line, which is pretty cool. So we're going to center this again. So we're going to say, welcome to the test. So you got like a nice little subtitle here. And we've got some other bits and pieces here we're going to touch on when we add the next block, which is the paragraph block. So I'm actually going to copy, I'm just going to type in some text here, copy and paste some text. So I've typed in some text and I have the same options as I did in the header. I can go through, select this, I can actually make this a header if I want to, and it would turn the whole line into a header. However, for simplicity, I like it being paragraph and just sort of sticking to the purpose as it's intended. As before, we can change the size. 16, I would probably recommend keeping it at about a minimum. These days 16 is the standard. And of course I can do the same as before. I can bold, italicize, underline. I can also change the line height and the alignment. Same as before, nothing new there. And we've got some other options here as well, which are also pretty standard. So if I type in enter and I just say, benefit 1 or something like that, and I click the bullet point, I can now add a series of bullet points. That's pretty straightforward, nothing exciting there. You click this, you get your numbered points instead, and it's pretty straightforward. And of course, if I want to add a link, I highlight this, click the link button, and pop my link in there. So Google, if I want to, and click insert. So now I have some text with a link, and you get the idea. So, but the next thing to touch on in this area, so if you ever want to finish bullet points, just hit enter and enter again. I'm going to show you a little bit about merge tags, nothing too crazy, but also if you click this information here, it gives you a little bit of a cheat sheet so you can see what it is. But where we got merge tags, you see we have all these options like email address, first name. So what I can do, hypothetically, if I hit enter up here, I can type in hi, add a merge tag, first name, comma. I can even add a space and add their last name. So I can say, so your birthday is on the, and I can add in there birthday if they supplied that. The thing is, if you have a sign up form, you need to set mandatory fields or to know what fields are available, because you may just draw a blank if they haven't given you this information. So just remember that when you're using merge tags, you do actually have to have that set up so that you're collecting that information when they sign up. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to reference anything. But you get the idea. This is information about the subscriber so that when they receive this email, they see their own name and something else. So if I click preview, you see it says test first name, test last name. If I enable live merge info, it has my information there. So hi Wade, I haven't got my last name. So, and I don't have my birthday in there either, but you can see how it's referenced my first name because I've put my first name in when signing up. So we'll exit preview mode, and you get the idea with that. So there's a few options to look at. some other information. This is all information I've added into my basically into my list. When you add in fields, different sort of area, and then you have list information, the list address in text, and that is like, yeah, it's just like your information, I believe, for, yes, my street information. So, which I have to have there legally to be sending out emails. So you got list address, which I'll delete. And keep in mind, you can edit these tags. If you type something in there, you can go in and edit these tags, but then it becomes irrelevant. You see we've got a little exclamation mark there. But some of them have information in them. So you've got list information, the opt-in explanation, the list name. So this is just called portfolio, it's nothing crazy. Your subscriber count, which if I put there, it just displays a number. So this is just a test account. If I say, we have, whoops, I've typed up here. Start typed in here. We have, and then a merge tag, subscriber count, subscribers on this list. And I can continue to go through and just check this stuff out. There's a subscribe link, so if people want to subscribe, so if you're actually going to forward this to someone, which I will show you in a minute, you can set up an unsubscribe link, but that's in your footer. You probably don't want to do that too much. If you want people to be able to update their profile, put more information, that's a little link you can do. So these links, it just pastes the URL. So social share links, you can put those on there. Send a tweet, so people can actually send out a tweet or a Facebook comment. So I'll just pop some of these on here. Not all of them. And you can see you got a few more options if I keep going. So you can show some of your social media profiles and that sort of thing if you have those set up in your account or your list options. There's a place where you actually pop that information. Table of contents, and if you actually have seen one of my videos in the past, there's RSS feed items. So if I pop that in there, you can pop your RSS feed address in, and that will actually show some items from that feed. So that way you can send out like your most recent posts or whatever it is. But there's a better way. There's other ways of doing that. There's actually an automation for that, which is a bit more superior. But you get the idea with these ideas. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is actually add in a link. So if I said here, what are we looking at here? We're going to say share. If I say share this with a friend. Now I want to highlight this and add a link. But the problem is there's nothing really there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit space, go merge tag, and I'm going to say, I've gone a bit too far, somewhere here, forward to a friend link, and I can copy this, and then when I highlight it, I can add my link in like this and paste that merge tag in there. So share this with a friend so they can also subscribe here. So same again. I don't know what the link is, so I'm going to go here and I go to subscribe link. I highlight this and I'm just going to hit Control X to cut. Highlight this, add my link, and post that one in there to insert. So you get the idea. This is how merge tags essentially work. We're going to move on in a sec, but I'll just quickly preview this. So if I hover over this, I've got a link. I don't know if you can see it in the bottom left, but it's got a link to share with a friend and a link to subscribe, which if I click and open in a new tab, you can see now it brings up the form for them to sign up. So that's how you can add links and merge tags. We have 4 subscribers on this list. Like I said, I've got 4 subscribers on the list, a little tweet button, a comment button. So those are just some powerful little tools you can add into the text of your paragraph block. So we'll exit the preview mode now. And of course, your usual options on the left, change your font. We could even grab, I think, a certain area and change the font to Comic Sans, every graphic designer's favorite font. And you can do that individually in this area. So that's not a global block-wide thing. You can actually highlight certain areas and do it that way. So moving on, we're going to add in another block, which is an image. So now I have this image here. I can add a photo. So I'm just going to click Add. I can upload an image, which will just bring up a dialog box. But I'm just going to select one I already have uploaded. So maybe something like this. from my image library, and I've got an image there. One thing to remember too is I can grab these handles and I can move and crop. So if I want to crop it that way, and I can just enlarge and shrink by grabbing the corner handle. So the side handles kind of change the proportion a bit, while the corner handle simply resizes. It's a little bit of a delay there. Now, the other thing too is when I click on this image is I can left align, right align, I can do full, so it goes to full width, which I think looks a lot better in this instance. And that's another thing too. We'll go back up to this paragraph block, is I can change the background to maybe a light gray. And you can see how now we've got these different colors throughout our newsletter. But back to the image block. I can also pop in a link. So once again, I can pop in the link to Google. So https://google.com. And then of course, I can remove a link. I can add alt text to the image. So grow your brand if you want to actually add some alt text, which is just information about the image. It doesn't display. It's I think it was originally intended for blind users to be able to get a description of what the image is. Now if I take this block, which is currently, it's got some padding top and bottom, and at the moment you see it's got a bit of white. What I can do is I can remove that padding altogether. I have to do it with the down arrow apparently. Or hit enter. I wasn't actually hitting enter, which I think is the issue. So now we have no padding, so our block goes straight into that image. But if I decide to now apply this padding across the board and give it 20 pixels, and we've got a bit of space around it, then the block background color could be red and almost act like a bit of a border around the image if I want it to as well. So you've got those usual bits and pieces. You've got that same dynamic content thing. I'm not too concerned about that right now because it's just your merge tags and things you can use up here. I haven't done a lot of research into it, so maybe a topic for another video. But we've got our image. I think the red doesn't look very good, so I'm going to change it to black, and I might even just get rid of that padding altogether. Okay, so now we've added in a heading, paragraph, and an image. So now if I add in, we can go back to the start and go to layout. And a layout will, it says the layout will appear here. As you can see, we can add in multiple columns of text like this. So we have like a heading on the left and text on the right. And this is just a heading block and a paragraph block. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to undo. And I've got a couple of spaces here, so I'll add that in again. A layout. We've got image and text or an image gallery. So if I go text and image, you can actually choose now to have an image on the left, text on the right, vice versa, or an image at the top with text underneath, that sort of thing. And you've got all these different layouts you can choose. So you get the idea of how it works. So if I add in, say, this one here, I can pick an image by adding from the side here. So maybe I choose something like this. And it's exactly the same as the image block before. And then I can go in and edit this information. I can also edit this button, which we'll get to when I add a button in there. You sort of get the idea. So you get these layouts with a few different items, but if I click on the actual overarching block itself, I can change the layout if I want to this, to that. So I can change it after I've actually done it. And I can change the layout background again. So maybe a gray. Maybe we decide this one wants to be red so it stands out, which doesn't look good, but we'll leave it there for the sake of the video. And again, the same options with the padding. You get the idea. So that's pretty handy. Layouts can be pretty handy if you want something a bit more visual. If you want to, I would actually preview this, and you can see if the image is left and right, but I put it onto phone, the image comes first and then the text. So it does reorganize for mobile users or smartphone users. If you're worried about the text being really small on the right and the image being really small on the left, it is actually responsive. So moving on, we're actually going to continue going. I'm going to add in another block. Now, Creative Assistant, this is a little bit different. If I pop this in here, I can add in some campaign images and things like that. So at the moment, it's linked up. It'll ask you to pop in your website address. You pop that in there, you give it a few minutes, and it actually references images, your logo, and puts like a little sort of brand in there. So I've got these two campaign images, which are actually just background images. But I can just say something like grow your brand again. Do it with creator impact or something like that. Include logo in design. And generate designs. And you can see it's actually generated some layouts we can choose and work with. So we've got this here, that there, and it's kind of like an AI-based design that works off your website. So if you want your email campaigns to really resemble your website, you can use this and it will create a series of designs you can work with. I really like this one here, so I'm going to choose that. There was an error for some reason. Let's just actually try that again. Okay, so I've had to exit and come back into the editor, so I'll try it again. There we go. And you can see we've got this little design here. So if you have an image that has a little bit more impact than just these dark bricks, that might look a bit better. But otherwise, that is just it's just an image from my website that's picked. I can, I believe, replace an image, so I can select from campaign, or I can upload an image and change that image, but I'm not worried about that right now. So it does create like a little block, so something a little visual you can use. So that's a pretty cool little tool just to play with and see what results you get. Moving on, we can add our logo, which I have predetermined in my account again, but you can also change it by going in here and replacing the logo and choosing something else. You can upload as well. So you see we've got this here. You can also go to my files and that sort of thing, and you can go and upload over here. Now the logo, of course, you've got alignment, left, right, center, full if you want the full width. You can pop a link in there. So similar to an image, you've got all the same options. So the logo block is essentially an image block, but called a logo block. So you sort of get the idea. Moving on, a button. So let's go back up and let's add this button in here. So a button's great for a call to action. You can have links in your text, which is very cool, but a button is a nice visual thing you can use to really grab people's attention. So if I click on this button here, I could pop my link in there. Once again, let's just pop Google in there for the sake of this video. Google. And you can see it's going to take us there. I can choose the font, so I want something completely different again. So maybe I want to choose Play Fair Display again for something a bit different. We can left align the button, right align the button, or center the button. And then we have some other shapes. So round for rounded corners, a pill shape, so we get that pill shape, or if you go to the three dots, you can choose your own custom level of corner rounding to get the effect that you want, which is pretty cool. Now also we have the filled effect or outlined, so you get like an outline with text inside, so you can actually have multiple buttons and have them sort of differentiated from each other. And then of course you've got your colors. You can change the button color to red or any other color you want. The text can be yellow. This is not going to be a very good looking button. And the block background itself can be changed. So if I actually decide I want to make this white, just for the sake of it again, I'll go back and I'll make that button background something else. So let's go like a real gray color. We can then do something like making that block background itself, whoops, red or dark again. So you can get a cool like inline effect with your button. And if you want it to match, you can simply make the block background the same color. So pretty straightforward. Once again, padding. You can add padding around the button if you want to. It's pretty straightforward. And you can change the font size here, make it bold. So you can change, it keeps changing that. So you can go through, highlight this, change your button text. So visit Google now, because you have a Google link on there. And that's how you can create buttons pretty easily. It's a handy way to get attention. And again, it keeps scrolling up because I keep clicking on the block above it. So creating buttons is pretty straightforward. Again, let's keep going down the page. Divider is a simple line that goes between blocks. So if you've got a bit of information and you want a line to go between blocks, pop that line on there. And again, you can choose dashed, dotted. You can see the difference over here. You can change the thickness. At the moment it's 2 pixels, but at the moment we can make it quite low. We can make it 0 or 1. So you can change that thickness pretty easy. Change the color. So we'll make it white. And make the block background red. You see we now have this white, really thick line in the middle of a red block, so you can really customize it and change the padding as well. You can see the line then gets narrower as I change that padding. So if I type in 200 you see the line's got a space in the left there. So that's a pretty simple little block. You've also got then your spacer, which is just a height. It's just to create space between blocks. And you can, of course, change the block background color again. Video. Now, if I actually go and copy a link, so I click on this, if I pop in my YouTube link here, paste, I can actually have a link to this YouTube video. Now, it has automatically generated a thumbnail, but of course I can, if I'm going to set up a different way, I can pop my own custom thumbnail in there beforehand if I've got a different source. But it's actually filled this out, put alt text in there for me. Again, I can change the block background, so maybe make it black so it stands out. Once again, padding as before. So now if I actually preview this, I scroll down to our video, click on it, and it takes me to the video on YouTube. So Alex Becker ad, and that's pretty much it. That's how the video test works. So it's really just an image link again. It's nothing really too crazy. You could actually do the same thing with an image if you wanted more control over that picture. So there's not as much functionality. Back in the day, you could pop a video into the email, but I think they've sort of really simplified the functionality of this editor to make it more compatible. I don't know what the reasoning is. We've also got social here, so you can pop in here. You've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can add in others. But if you have, say, facebook.com/Creator Impact, you can pop in links to your social media profile. So Creator Impact, and you can add in other links. So we've got email here. So I'll pop an email address in there if I want to. You can see the email icon. Website, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I can pop that in there if I want to. So I pop my YouTube address in there. And you can have these links at the footer or at the top. Somewhere if you want people to follow you on social media, you can pop a little paragraph or heading above that saying, check us out on social media. Now, this is where the visuals change for this icon style. If I just choose the first, we've got the center one with the circle. It just shows the logos. The circle adds a circle around it, and this adds just an outline. So you get a few different styles to play with, a few different sizes, and you can change the alignment as before. And the spacing, I can make it tighter. So if I center that, I can bring them in closer together by changing the spacing. So it's 6 pixels at the moment, so they're in nice and close. Now the color, you'll notice you've got this little fade color here. What it's doing is referencing the brand colors of these networks. So we've got the Facebook blue, the same blue from Twitter, the red from YouTube. So you can actually choose that one or go through and choose simple such as black or light or gray and just keep it that. So there's not a ton of options there, but you can choose the brand colors or some grayscale colors, if that makes sense. And as usual, the block background can be changed as well to something hideously ugly. So you get the idea. That's pretty straightforward with the social media. Just add in the URLs to your actual here. If you're not sure how to do that, go to your Facebook page, to your Instagram page, or whatever in your browser, and it'll generally be in the address bar, and you can pop them in there. And as usual, bit of padding. We can keep going. So if you actually have an online store and you've integrated it with MailChimp, you can add a product in there. I haven't set that up, but you get the idea. If I click on this, you can connect up to your store and add a list of product that you have listed there, and people can click through and buy. But you can also just simply set up text and a button if you have the link. A survey. So this is this is another whole other thing again, but I can start and click create survey, and you can start going through there and adding in buttons and getting information from people and filling that out. So maybe a topic for another video. Once again, now one thing you'll notice with MailChimp, which you might have noticed just then, is sometimes you go into these sections to, of course that's a link to start the survey, in that. Sometimes you go into certain sections where it wants to connect up other services, and when you exit, it takes you out of the whole editor. So just remember, You do have to go back into your campaigns and bring that up. That does happen. It's a little bit annoying. One of the things I don't like about MailChimp. Finally, we have apps. Now, I've got a few connected up already. Link preview I can add in there. Simply add in a link. So if I want to copy, so I've got a link to a blog post here. If I pop that into the source and hit enter, it'll bring up this link, which is my most recent blog post on my site at the time of recording, how to improve old videos. And you see you've got a few options. It's got the image here. I can turn the image off and just have the text if I want to. So you can turn things on and off here, like the description. The background has got a slightly different color, so you can turn that off if you want to. But I think it's good just to have the whole thing on there. And then you can change the size. So medium sort of changes the size of the image, or you can have small, which kind of, I believe, left aligns the image. And it just sort of previews a link that you're sharing with the featured image used in your post. So this is the featured image on my WordPress post that it's referencing. So that's a pretty cool, actually adding a link preview in there can be pretty powerful if you'd like to have something that's a bit automated that does gives a lot of information at a few clicks of the button. So going back, if I add in again, apps, you can add in your Google business profile if you want to link that up, add event, calendar links, a playable video by Playable, and there's more apps on the way. So something worth checking out if you want to. I've got an Instagram linked up here, which is just like a martial arts movie Instagram account. Another one I just created to play around with. And I can actually hold this in here, which is one post, a single post highlight, and I can change that post to something else, which is maybe these DVDs. And I can pop that on there, so it just shows a single post. And I do believe it links off to that. I have to double check. Okay, preview. So it does link off to that post if you click on the icon here, but otherwise not really anywhere else. So you sort of get the idea. Once again, it's that issue with Helvetica. So you can add a single Instagram post in there. Oh, what's going on? Let's go here. All right. You can add a single Instagram post in there, and you can change the size again, much like the link preview. Put the full post in there. But there's not a ton of options. It's pretty basic, but it's still a pretty cool tool. But the single post highlight can be changed to a multi-post gallery. So it'll show a few different posts on there. And of course you can change that. So if I want to, I can select these two items. It wants up to 4 by the looks of it. And it changes those. So if you are sending out regular email newsletters, you can sit down, if you are active on Instagram, you can actually put some of your high-performing posts on there, and that way you can get people to go to your Instagram account from your MailChimp newsletter. So, pretty handy. But that's all the blocks, and that's pretty much the basics of it when you're done. I always like to preview, or even if you go to preview, send a test email, and it will send it to your main email address. I'll exit the preview mode. When you're done, hit continue. And you can go ahead and send away. So at the moment there's an X on there. There's obviously something missing, but remove the placeholder text. So yeah, it's got a few of the basic blocks in there. So talk about your brand, use this space to add more details. Because it's just a test, I haven't removed those blocks or changed those things. But you get the idea. Once you're ready, you'll be able to send. So that is the video for today. I hope you found that useful. It was by request. So yeah, how to use the editor, how to see how the different functions of it work. So if you liked the video, please consider giving it a like. And if you want more information about MailChimp, I will link to a playlist in the description below and also on screen here. Otherwise, have a great day, and I hope to speak to you again soon.